Hey everyone, Jim Gonzalez here. It's another wonderful Wednesday. Look forward to discussing pharmaceuticals with you today. Hopefully you're staying warm and hopefully you're going to learn some information about EDI in the pharmaceutical industry. I'm not going to be able to cover every detailed point, but hopefully this will give you some insight and some understanding as to how EDI plays a role in the pharmaceutical landscape. When you think of pharmaceutical and you think of, the different various drug manufacturers that are out there and the different companies that are involved, there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to pharmaceuticals. With pharmaceuticals, there's a lot of people that are segmented in knowing certain specific things, in understanding and knowing how each area and arena works. There's not a lot of people that have an understanding of how it all gels together. And I'm not even saying I have an understanding of how it all gels together, because there's different things that come up and I'm learning things every day. But at least I can give you some insight as to what's going on and how it plays a role when it's an EDI dealing with the pharmaceutical industry. So one of the things that we want to jump in is, as a subtopic, is crucial role played by EDI in streamlining operations within pharmaceutical industry. So think of it this way. When you're dealing in pharmaceuticals and you're dealing with drugs being manufactured and storage and warehousing and selling them and all of those various things, there's a lot of rules that come into play. Okay. First off, there's not a lot of companies that are out there that are manufacturing the drugs. Some are here in the States, some are not in the States. So how do the drugs get in to the United States? Well, of course, they have to come in their natural means of import, and they have to go through customs and all of those things. But when it's drugs and it's pharmaceuticals, there's a higher level of control that everybody needs to see. So EDI plays a role in the fact that you might be exchanging ANSI X12 documents, you might be exchanging EPCIS, which is an XML style document. There's a lot of different document or file formats that could come into play. So a lot of people think of EDI, they just think, in US, they think of ANSI X12. Well, that's not always the case. Sometimes there's EDIFACT, because maybe you're dealing with a manufacturer that's going to be bringing that product, or you're going to be bringing that product into the United States. So you're going to look at how are they manufacturing, where's it being manufactured, where is it being stored. The US government loves to know all of those details because they have a Drug Security Act. If you look at it, its abbreviation is DCSCA. So if you hear people throw that acronym, again, wonderful world of EDI and acronyms, just add some more terminologies to your glossary. You're going to look at what are they talking about? What are they asking for? Essentially, the Drug Security Act is to make sure that everybody's held accountable of the actions of where that drug is, whether it's being produced, it's being packaged, it's being imported, it's being stored, it's being destroyed, it's being sold. It's moving from one facility to another facility. All of those things, you're doing that interaction typically in some type of EDI format. There's an exchange of that. There's companies that are out there that are going to serialize and be able to understand and handle some of the requirements, like an EPCIS. EPCIS, remember, XML style file. Those companies are going to be like a trace link, a trace RX. There's a few of them that are out there. There's not a ton of them. There's also organizations that make or try to develop their own style of EPCIS, Drug Security Act, formatted, serialization, tracking, all of that stuff. You can develop it yourself. No problem with doing that, but just understand there's a lot of pieces that go with that. There's a lot of requirements of historical data. There's a lot of requirements of storing of item numbers. And are those your item numbers, their item numbers, or are they the NDC? the National Drug Code. What are they? So there's another moving part where people just understand NDC and how NDCs work and understand how a GLN works, global location number, or a number that identifies a certain facility location. So like your EPCIS file could have multiple GLNs in it. It could have multiple NDCs in it. It could have all of this information, and a lot of people, again, don't understand all of the moving parts. They understand a select portion of it. So in pharmaceuticals, I'm not trying to scare you. There's just a lot of information that's coming at you in a certain way. And until you deal with it a couple times, which I have and other individuals at my company have, it's a lot to grasp and it's a lot to understand. But you can understand it. The information's out there. You can look, or you can reach out to an organization like ours at EDI Support LLC, and we can help you and try to guide you in the direction. There's also companies that help you with specifically with TradeLink or serialization or Drug Security Act or whatever it may be in those certain segments of it. Okay. And what you find is all of this is trading information electronically so that somebody can trace those drugs along their movement and what they're doing. So when you're looking at how is it streamline those operations, it's really to get that flow of data occurring between multiple servers and multiple programs happening without somebody physically picking up the phone, without somebody physically sending an email. It's literally the computers talking to each other. Now, is there human interaction? Yes. There's still human interaction. AI hasn't taken over pharmaceuticals and the drug movement. Could it happen? It could in time. Some people use high-speed scanners. Those high-speed scanners, as the boxes are moving down, they interact with the back-end software. The back-end software then sends and creates the documents. The documents, you get what I'm saying. So no matter what, there's at some points throughout the whole trail, there's a human intervention of somebody either reviewing, looking at, getting notifications, doing all of those things to make sure that the system is doing what it needs to do appropriately. And as I had hit on one of the other subtopics, can't talk today, the braces are messing with me. Different EDI standards used in the industry is ANSI X12, EPCIS, DCSCA. Sorry, I mess that up all the time. Basically, it's the Drug Security Act. Think of it that way. You also could have EDIFACT. You could have CSV files. You could have things that are not conforming to an actual standard, quote unquote, because that's the way that you can get the data from your manufacturers. You'll learn manufacturers and everybody else has different abbreviations. You'll see CMO, CMS. You'll see all kinds of fun stuff that goes on because, again, it's EDI and it's the EDI world. We love to talk in acronyms. So as you understand those different file formats and different standards that could be coming at you, you also start to understand, can your system handle those things? Can your system do API? Can your system do webhooks? Can your system do ANSI X12? Can your system do XML? Can it do all of the requirements that are going to be needed when you're interacting in a pharmaceutical? Because now you're not just interacting like in retail, you're interacting with a buyer and a seller. There's a warehouse sometimes. Sometimes there's a distribution center. Sometimes there's a cross dock. Sometimes there's all those different things in retail. In pharmaceuticals, you're always going to have a lot of moving parts. Like there is no almost like straight streamline, at least that I've run into. You don't have, in most occurrences, somebody manufacturing it, storing it, distributing it, having their own carriers, interacting directly with the federal government or whoever the security enabler is, and all of those things. It doesn't happen. You have all these different moving platform people, companies, trying to interact and send data together. And we're in one right now. Like, we're in a live one that's pretty large, that we're dealing with as a team. But understand that any of these companies that are out there, when you get into this and you start selling a drug and you start putting your drug out there, and you start marketing it, which way are you? What do you handle and what don't you handle? Are you just and I'm not trying to knock it, are you a sales and marketing entity where the product literally comes in from a manufacturer, it gets packaged the way it needs to, it goes to a warehouse, from that warehouse it then goes on to the store or the facility or whoever, because you can't sell it direct to consumer, all those things. Again, there's rules and regs when you're dealing in pharmaceuticals, and dependent on the drug that you are distributing. Certain milligrams, certain, if it's a vial, if it's a pill, if it's a capsule, if it's whatever. Those are all the things that you have to understand. Does it go in a foil pack? Does it go into, think of when you go in, hate to say this, I've been around a lot of people that have been in facilities, in the hospital, sick. I've done it before. So I understand what a pill vial looks like. I know what a syringe vial looks like. I know what all those different things look like because I've seen them, whether it be myself or a family member or a friend or something of that nature. I've seen a lot of those things. And I've been lucky enough that I've worked and done EDI for some very large pharmaceutical companies that have shown me their facilities and shown me what things look like. So it's pretty cool. It's just understand there's a lot of moving data and a lot of things that are occurring there. When we start to look at the moving documents per se, again, you're going to have like an EPCIS file. You're going to have purchase orders, 850s, or orders if they're EDIFACT, or they could be an XML. You're going to have ASNs, advanced ship notices. You could have inventory documents that are stating to what inventory levels you have available, whether it's a health facility that's looking to purchase or whatever it may be. It could be a CVS, a McKesson, AmerisourceBergen. It could be a lot of these different entities that are out there. In the world of pharmaceuticals, you typically will find that you run across the same individual organizations on a repetitive basis. Okay. You'll find that that's where the companies that excel when it comes to pharmaceuticals and understand how all of those things work, they're far and few between. It's just what it is. Most of these organizations, like these large pharmaceuticals, they have staff, they have people that work for them directly that do all of these things and are there for 15, 20, 30 years, and they never leave. And the next person comes on, they get trained individually for how that company works and all of that stuff. What we're starting to see is we're actually starting to see more organizations actually as pharmaceutical or manufacturers starting to reach out and say, hey, we're losing our person. We need help. We've never really thought about this because the system's been in play for the last 20, 30 years. And now we're struggling to find somebody that can help us. If you're struggling, reach out to EDI Support LLC. We can go through, and luckily we have an understanding of this industry, along with a lot of the other industries. And again, I'm not saying we're perfect by any means. There's a lot of different things to learn when it comes to pharmaceuticals. And again, I'm constantly learning on it. So as you're looking at the purchase orders, the invoices, the advanced ship notices, or 850s, 810s, 856s, or if you go to the other side and you're looking at the orders, the desk ad, the Infor, like you're looking at all these different documents that are going to be translated and handled. Just know your system has to be able to do that. Your system has to have those flexibilities when it comes to pharmaceuticals, because a lot of things can be thrown at it. And if they can't, you have to make up for it. So maybe you have to multi-layer or have a tech stack in order to get everything done. So it's really to automate the order to cash flow. It's to reducing the manual intervention, minimizing errors, accelerating the processing of orders, limit the people that have to interact with each other, whether it's through email or over phone call or whatever it may be. The other thing is inventory management. So they know how much do you have available, because, different drugs have requirements of different compounds and different elements. that aren't readily available to just go buy. You don't just go to your local supermarket and buy these things that they need, or these compounds to make certain drugs. And you'll find that in our natural world, whether it's coming to vaccines or it's coming to taking Tylenol and aspirin and all of those different things, chemo drugs, all of that stuff. It all gets produced on a as needed basis, or a pre-ordered basis, or we now have the raw materials to make it, so now we're going to make it. Accuracy and visibility, being able to trace serialization numbers, lot numbers, understanding how your 2D barcodes get placed onto the box that the vial is going in, or even the vial, if you're talking about a syringed drug. There's a lot of different things that are moving on there. And again, ASNs are telling you where the shipment's moving from, how it's being handled, how it's being stored, where it's being stored. And those aren't typically, like in the pharmaceuticals, an ASN could be between, again, a manufacturer of the drug and the warehouse that's been selected to store that drug, or is a approved place to store certain drugs and certain narcotics, or has refrigeration and all of those things. So again, there's another wrinkle, is does the drug have to be in a certain authorized facility? Does it need to be refrigerated? Because some drugs, the compound will change if it gets to a certain temperature. You have to think of those things. It's crazy, but again, when you get into this world and you deal with different outfits and you start hearing what they're having to go through for these things, it opens up your mind and it gets you to understanding what's going on there. So standardizations, dealing with the regulatory compliances, they're never easy to deal with. Like I keep mentioning about the Drug Security Act. Well, hey, guess what? We're in November. That was supposed to be forced in play 2023. It's now been extended. But that doesn't mean that you have to you can sit back and you can rest and you can say, I don't need to do serialization. I don't need to understand my lots, expiration dates. I don't need to do all of that stuff. I'm going to worry about that later. No, you should worry about it now, because later is going to come quicker than you think. And the federal government, at least here in the US, isn't going to worry. If you're in non-compliance, well, guess what? It's going to be a lot more costly for you, or they could shut you down. So you want to get through those compliancy issues as fast as you can, get them worked out, get an understanding. You know, when you get into other levels, you might be dealing with an HL7s, or you might be dealing with GS1s. So GS1s are, again, that's part of GLNs, GTINs, all of those things. There's an advisory board for GS1 that puts all of that together, that tells them how to make up certain item numbers, how to make up location numbers, how to do those things that are unique to that facility or unique to that item. HL7 is healthcare. HL7 is a method of exchanging data in an XML format. You can be using FHIR, which is not FIRE, it's FHIR. You could also have a FHIR server, or you could be connecting to a FHIR server. Think of that, if you wrap your head around it, think of that as basically an API. Okay? Do you have a FHIR server? Do you have an API server? You might hear my dog coughing right now. The little guy's laying behind me. But this is a wonderful world of working out of your home office. At a certain point in time, I move into the home office just because it's closer to holiday seasons and the girls are in and out of school. So it's just easier to be here. So traceability, again, Drug Security Act, looking for how to handle recalls, how to handle distribution, how to handle destruction of the different products, and all of those things from patient safety and being able to understand. So you have all these different layers that are occurring in the pharmaceutical industry, and you need all of that data to gel together and be stored somewhere and be accessible and be understanding, because Say somebody manufactures a drug, that lot goes bad, and it needs to be found, whatever patients have received that particular lot of that drug, so that they can be told of possible side effects, possible things that could occur, or interactions with other drugs that might have an issue. It's a real issue if you really wrap your head around the pharmaceutical industry and understanding how you need that real-time data and you need that visibility of the flow of everything that's going on. So data accuracy, that's another thing. Compliance reporting, all of that is amongst dealings inside of the pharmaceutical arena, and dealing with EDI. How do you get that data going all the way around? How do you get everybody looking at those things? So the big thing is as you're looking through this and you're looking to understand all of the challenges that the pharmacy companies face and how EDI helps to curb them, it's all there. It's that transposed data, seeing where the data is going, seeing how everything is handled, how everything works, how everything interlinks together, and really linking all those systems so that somebody can get in there and just be able to find things. And it's not having to pick up the phone and not email and not doing all of those things. So I hope that this helped give you a little bit of insight into the pharmaceutical industry. As we go through these weeks that I try to do every Wednesday. Now, of course, holidays are coming up. So holidays are coming up. For me, that means I'm going to be taking a break. I'll be meeting you back in 2024, and we'll be going through some other things. Hopefully in 2024, we're going to bring some guests on and start having some interactions going back and forth. So you're not just looking at this pretty face. But anyways, I would love for you to follow us here on LinkedIn, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and join our Discord group to keep learning from your experts and get quick answers to your EDI and API questions. You'll find all of that links in the event details. Again, Jim Gonzalez, EDI Support LLC. If there's anything I can help you with, don't hesitate to reach out. And again, I don't know everything. I've just been lucky over the 25 years of seeing a lot of different things. And I'm constantly seeing different things and different projects that me and my team are working on to help people out. So you take care. You have a great holiday season, and I will see you in 2024. Take care, everybody.